Hello, and thank you very, very much for tuning in to MLGW's Power Pivot today. I'm Gail Jones-Carson, the Vice President of Community and External Affairs for Memphis Black Restaurant Water. The Power Pivot series has covered several small business topics, from business grants, a new normal in the pandemic, marketing, finance, legal issues, and a host of other pertinent small business subjects. Today, we will address transitioning and moving beyond this pandemic. Our Zoom attendees, please put your questions in the Q&A section. And Facebook viewers, please put your questions in the comments section. Small businesses have been working tirelessly and creatively, trying to grow, sustain, and keep their doors open during this pandemic. Today, our guests, Cheryl Pesce and Cynthia Daniels, will offer some great insight on how to open and sustain and grow your businesses during this pandemic. I am so happy to have these two young ladies on here with us today. Cheryl Pesce owns and operates two luxury stores, Cheryl Pesce, the lifestyle store in Crosstown Concourse, and the newly opened Cheryl Pesce, the lifestyle store in the Laurelwood Shopping Center. She expanded to her second location in Laurelwood during the pandemic, which is an amazing feat. She will discuss opening a new business during this pandemic and the challenges and strategy to succeed, expand, and being a woman-owned business. The infamous Cynthia Daniels is the owner and chief event strategist for Cynthia Daniels and Company. Cynthia has been successful in promoting positive influence through social media with many of her events, including Memphis Black Restaurant Week, Soulful Food Truck Festival, Elixir. I got to work on that. Elixir. And the Party Life, a New Year's Eve experience, and others. Her forethought to enter the digital space during this pandemic has helped 100 Black businesses in 22 cities to gain more than $1 million in sales. These two fabulous women business owners will provide a wealth of knowledge for any business, whether small or expanded. So Cheryl, let's start with you. And if you would give us some comments about your business and how you're doing, how you're surviving, and how did you open a new store during these trying times when many businesses are closing and others that are barely staying open. So you got a lot to share with us.
Yes, absolutely. Hello, Gail. Hi, Cynthia. Hello, everyone. First of all, I'm going to ask everyone to follow me on Instagram, Cheryl.Pesce, Pesce. Every day I post inspirational ideas, things you can do to get up and get going. So follow me on Instagram. Let's start there. And then I'm going to ask everyone, if you don't already, get a notebook and a pen, because if we're going to say some things you want to write down. If you're ever in one of these webinars and people are saying things and you don't have they're not saying anything you want to write down, they're probably not worth your time. So we're going to say some things that you want to write down. Get your notebook, get your pen. So Gail, one of the things that I'm so grateful that I did was that I started an e-commerce website. And luckily I had started that website before the pandemic. So that made it easier for me to pivot because I had that e-commerce site. So I was able to generate sales via my website. Another thing that I did was to stay relevant. You always hear people say, stay relevant. When I realized that everyone was wearing masks and we were going to wear masks and no one could find masks, I went on YouTube and taught myself to make masks. And I spoke with someone who said there was a great demand for African print masks. So not only did I make masks, I found African print fabric and made masks. I got 3 sewing machines, hired someone to help me, and did a massive pivot to my e-commerce site. That made all the difference. I would also suggest if you do an e-commerce site, make sure that you keep your bio updated. that's something I have to remind myself every day. And I do need to upgrade my bio right now. And a most important tip is to file your taxes and pay your taxes on time. Right now, with all the grants, the federal grants, the small business grants and loans that are there, if you don't have a current Schedule C or updated tax filings, you're on the outside. You're definitely left out. So do that now. It's not too late. Go ahead and get all that information updated. Rise early, 4:30, 5 o'clock a.m. I know you don't want to hear that, but you have to rise early and capture those precious hours in the morning. You can capture 2 or 3 hours to add to your day every morning if you go ahead and rise early and get to work then. And then do your sanity walk and get to work. So those are my tips, Gail, for getting started and surviving in a pandemic. Cynthia, is it just us? Did we lose Gail?
I think Gail may be
I was on
muted.
mute. I was on mute. So let me ask you one question. How long have you been in business?
So when I was 5 years old, I tell this story. When I was 5 years old, I wanted something to drink, a soda. My parents and I were at the gas station and the attendant was pumping gas and cleaning our windshield. And of course I said, can I have a pop? And of course my mother said, no, we have pop at home or Kool-Aid or whatever we were drinking. And that
we had Kool-Aid, Cheryl.
It was Kool-Aid with extra sugar, girl, red. And I leaned out of the window and asked the attendant if they were hiring. So at 5 years old, I realized that I needed to be an entrepreneur, that I needed to have a way to make my own money because I'm such an independent woman. But in 2011, I actually incorporated and started Cheryl Pesce, the lifestyle brand. So almost 10 years, about 10 years now.
Which is really good because on average, a lot of small businesses, if they don't make it past 3 years, can't make it to 3 years, they just don't make it. So you've done a fabulous job. Okay, so Miss Cynthia.
Yes, ma'am.
All righty. Tell us something about your business. Now you got on the map really big when you started doing the restaurants and stuff and exposing small restaurants to people who had never heard of them. So come on, tell us about your business and how you got started and how you've been making it during the pandemic.
Absolutely. So Cynthia Daniels Co is an event planning business. And really it started with me and trying to do something in the community, just trying to do something positive for the city of Memphis. I recognize as a transplant, Memphis was a foodie town. We have the Italian festival, Jewish festival. I mean, all the good food, but there was nothing that highlighted African-American restaurants. So when I befriended Chef Fran, back in 2015, she was opening up her restaurant. She took her life savings to open that restaurant. And I recognized there wasn't additional money for marketing and getting people inside of the restaurant. So that just said, you know what? I recognize that restaurants were these hidden treasures in our community. So why not create something to put them in the forefront? So that's really how it started. It wasn't about making money because I made none of that money. $85,000 was spent the first Memphis Black Restaurant Week. So it showed the power of, economic empowerment, how one food plate can really make a huge difference. And so that's what launched me into doing my business full time. I really saw a need to create things for, African Americans, 40 under 40 urban elite professionals, making sure that they're awarded in the unconventional career spaces. And it just kept building a life of its own, doing food truck festivals. And I'll kind of segue there with the pandemic. I'll never forget March 15th, 2020. That's the last event I did in real life. We had over 6,000 people at Tiger Lane. It was my biggest festival to date. Again, to know that we needed to support Black-owned food trucks and have fun music, something for the family. But Gail, the next day, CDC told me I couldn't do events anymore. So I had to cancel 10 large events the next day. So that was a huge, drastic change for me. And I think, probably like Cheryl, myself, I had to figure out how to pivot because I didn't expect it. Luckily, I had a savings, which I recommend anybody starting a business. Make sure you can at least afford to pay your bills before you jump out there and do anything else. So my savings helped keep me afloat. But
Well,
like Cheryl,
let's put a pin in it right there, Cynthia. When you talk about savings,
yes.
what do you recommend? How many months? Any certain a dollar amount that small businesses or businesses in general should have set aside?
That's a great question. In a realistic world, I would recommend 6 months to a year of savings for a rainy day. Obviously, the pandemic has turned into a rainy year, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I've been
because that's
able.
anybody who has 6 months is gone. 6 months is gone.
Absolutely. So in a different e-commerce space, I will say this: think of a business where there's a necessity now. I think Cheryl was brilliant to jump into the industry and say, you know what, I'm going to learn how to make some masks. So I would recommend anybody right now, if you don't have savings, don't focus on a brick and mortar business. Figure out what can you sell, what can you ship directly from your home. And so with that, I was able to create virtual shopping markets for other Black businesses so they could figure out, you know what, I need to create a website. So I would say out of the 100 businesses that we helped during Juneteenth last year, 50 of them never even had a website, Gail. So the pandemic forced
Wow.
them to
Mhm.
pivot. And then again, it made me pivot into the virtual space so I could figure out how else do I reach a bigger market. And now I'm reaching people outside of Memphis. So that's been one blessing outside of the pandemic. And hopefully people can think about not only what do people in Memphis need, but what do people universally need all over the country.
And when I talk to some businesses, one of the things, like you just pointed out, once you put your business online and people Google you expose yourself, your business, to people who've never heard of you before, and you go beyond Memphis and Shelby County. You get new business contacts that you never had before.
Absolutely.
And so when you lost those 10 businesses, how long did it take you to bounce back?
You know, to be honest, I would say about a good 4 months to somewhat bounce back. And I'll be honest, the virtual space has been great for me to pivot, but I'm still not making the amount of money that I would make if I was doing an in-person event. So it's still keeping me afloat. So hopefully, again, because I'm not a maker, I'm not really making anything, but I'm creating spaces for other people. So maybe I need to Google something and take my own advice and figure out what I can make to offset that money.
Well, let me ask you, how do businesses participate in your restaurant when you did have it at full scale?
Sure. So honestly, it was kind of a community thing. I would ask people what were their favorite restaurants, what were some of the newer ones that needed more exposure. For instance, the Four Way, one of my favorite restaurants.
Yeah.
I didn't initially start with them because everybody in Memphis already knew about the Four Way, right? So we didn't add them until the 4th year. But I always try to work with people that have been open 2 years or less, like you said, so it helps give them that extra exposure, that extra push, so they're able to get kind of a natural following moving forward.
Well, I remember when you first started, and so Tamika Hart was in town.
Oh yeah.
And so she took me to a restaurant in the Crosstown area that I had never heard of before. But Cynthia, because of what you were doing, they were so busy, the line was like out the door. So I told Tamika, I said, Tamika, look, we're going down here to Cozy Corner, okay? And so we went to Cozy Corner. So we still was staying within the realm of what you were promoting, African-American businesses. But yeah, I mean, it was amazing the amount of business and exposure to some of the businesses receive when you first started. So are the same businesses there? Have the number grown in participation, or?
So the numbers overall have definitely grown, Gail. I will say, because of the pandemic, unfortunately, a few of our favorites have decided to close. The office at Uptown, they actually decided to retire because they didn't expect to be closed for so long. But at the same time, a lot of those restaurants have pivoted. They've started to be a part of delivery apps. So I am going to do a virtual, in a sense, Memphis Black Restaurant Week this year. So every restaurant participating, you can get on your phone, order the food, and have it delivered to your home. So a lot of the restaurants, they're still thriving in a sense during the pandemic, but they've just had to kind of lay off staff in-house and figure out creative ways to still get their food out to the community.
Well, I try to make it my business to participate and support all kinds of restaurants as often as I can, because when I'm telecommuting, and when I was working every day, I was going to restaurants every day. So I still try to do my part. And one of the things I've learned is that so many businesses have done new things to pivot. That you can scan your put your phone on a barcode and see the menu. You
Yeah.
can order online. They're doing DoorDash. They're doing all kinds of things, and I'm hoping and praying that many of them will be able to sustain this time. So Cheryl, let's go back to you
Hey,
and talk about your move to Laurelwood
yeah,
and your
yeah.
historic, just being historic being there. Tell us something about that.
Well, I was listening to Cynthia talk about, changes and businesses that failed and just couldn't pivot. And I felt like I might be one of those businesses. Back in October, had my Crosstown store and it was failing. The brick and mortar store was failing. I was getting some online business. I was selling some masks, but I felt like it was going to fail. And so I went on Facebook and I did what you should not do on Facebook. I posted a rant. I posted a rant. I said, you guys see me, you see me making, you see me marketing, you see me doing everything I can do to keep this business afloat. Yet you continue to buy everything on Amazon. See if Jeff Bezos is going to come mentor your kids and give to your sororities and your fraternities. And I ranted. I was very upset and I was very disappointed. I did get a lot of orders that day. So people did listen. But one thing happened in that rant, in that thread on Facebook. Someone who I didn't know posted and said, I've been to your Crosstown store, or I've walked past it probably 20 times. I love the store. I like the things. I like the way you curate the store. I think if you were at a different shopping center, you would do much better. Let me know if you want to talk about it. And, I'm a business person. So anyone that says, if you want to talk about an opportunity, I always follow up and reach out. So he left his email information and I sent him an email. Turns out that person was the president and CEO of Laurelwood Shopping Center.
Wow.
He knew all about me, Gail. He knew my background. He had vetted me. He had stalked me. He knew every.
And Cheryl, I tell people all the time, you never know who's watching you.
You never know who's watching. Always be the brand, always be prepared, always put your best foot forward. So here's this man who'd been watching me all this time. And he said, when he told me who he was, I was talking to him via email. So I'm Googling him at the same time, just to see if is this really who he says he is? And an article popped up. He had been interviewed by the Memphis Business Journal. And in that article, he said, Laurelwood is not unattainable. We need Black businesses at Laurelwood. To his credit, he put that out there. And he said, here's my cell number. Give me a call if you're a Black business and you're interested, you want to talk about Laurelwood. Well, I had never seen that article, but here I am emailing this man, and he said, I have a couple of places at Laurelwood that are vacant, that are available. I'd like to show them to you. So I said, okay, let's see what goes on. So I met him at Laurelwood, and the spot, I want to make a difference. I want to build, Black wealth in Memphis. And he was young. So he was like the second generation owner of Laurelwood. His family had owned it for 50 years. And now here he is as the president and CEO. But the spot he showed me was, in the back, in the corner, in between. And of course I said, no. If you really want to make a difference, if you really want to make a statement and make an impact, and give me a real shot at being successful here, I need a different place. What about that anchor space down there on the corner with all the windows and the doors and all the glass?
But it took confidence to say something, because some other business people might would have said, I'm just thankful to be here. But you spoke up and you asked for what you want. And when you ask for what you want, sometimes you get what you want.
Isn't that true? Well, I knew I knew my brand, and I knew the type of space I needed to take the next step with the brand. If I had accepted that space, it would have put me years backwards, actually. So of course he said, well, someone else is interested in that space. And I said, well, I'm interested in that space. So add me to the list of people who are interested. Long story short, 2 weeks later, we had negotiated. And for example, my store at Crosstown Concourse is just over 600 square feet. My space at Laurelwood is over 2,000 square feet.
Wow, that's really amazing. You hearing that, Cynthia?
That is a testimony. I'm waiting for the book to come out, Gail.
So that's what I saw the space. It was it needed everything. It was brown and beige and it had no color, no life. Went in, I touched everything, changed out the light fixtures, painted the walls, gold leaf the ceiling, just did some really cool things with the store. And to their credit, Laurelwood management was very supportive. Very supportive. We opened in November. So October, I look at the space, November 6th, we do a grand opening.
Great. So you are the first African-American to have a storefront, a business in Laurelwood.
Isn't that something?
Yeah.
Yes. First
amazing.
Black-owned business in Laurelwood. And I mean, how many years have we all shopped, in the stores in Laurelwood, but we've never had ownership. And that's, that when we talk about the pivot and people say, well, how you were brave, how did you have the nerve to do this in a pandemic? Look for opportunities now is what I say to everyone. There are opportunities now that may not have been there for you 2 years ago and may not be there for you 2 years in the future. Everyone is looking to fill spaces. People are more willing to negotiate now for brick and mortar spaces than they may when they weren't, interested in negotiating with you before. So just ask, go and see, knock on some doors, pivot.
So what kind of volume are you getting at your second location?
Yeah, well, the reason you may ask why, get in there in October and open in 5 weeks of construction and painting. I had to open in November. So I had a construction crew that worked day and night. We had to open in November because in retail, if you don't make your year, the last quarter of the year, you don't make your year.
Oh, okay.
So I opened in November to take advantage of the after Thanksgiving shopping and the Christmas shopping, not as robust as it had been before, but it was really great. So we're getting great volume. Laurelwood is a destination. It's a premier shopping center. So I'm very pleased with the way things are going.
So tell us some of the merchandise that you have in your stores.
Yeah. So I'm really concentrating a lot on local artisans. So there's an artist, Moselle. I have his original art. So large, original oil paintings. I have furniture, beautiful sofas and lamps and furnishings. I have a clothing line that I have the exclusive on. It's made in California. And I've been wearing it for 7 years. So
is it like the Cheryl Pesce's t-shirt you got on?
Honey, it's as good and better. Yes, the t-shirt is available as well. And so I have an exclusive on that particular clothing brand. And I have a children's line that is from Paris, France. And that I have the exclusive on that as well. I have, of course, the Cheryl Pesce brand, which is my very own brand, and that's available in the store. And then I just did this piece. Pick that up for you. Can you see it? I am my ancestors' wildest dreams.
I like that.
So that's available in the store. The t-shirts and that type of thing are more a brand for the Crosstown store. The Laurelwood store is more of a luxe brand with the clothing and the art and the furniture. It's a really cool store. Everyone who comes in, people have scheduled their photo shoots for their weddings and their baby showers in the store because they just kind of like the whole feel of the store.
Well, now, Cheryl, you know I got to come out there just to check you out. I've been to your Crosstown store and I really liked it, but I got to come there and I'm going to do my selfie and everything at the store. And I'm just going to tell you, when I found out that you had a second store opening during this pandemic, I was just like, Lord, we got to talk to Cheryl. She got to share some of this. She's really got to share. And then Cynthia, you're always taking everything to the next level. What's next for you? What's up?
Yeah, I have to tell you one more thing about this store that I forgot to talk about. It's the jewelry. The
jewelry. Yeah. I got some of your jewelry too.
Yes, you do. My main brand is the jewelry. You know, I make it. And now at the Laurelwood store, because it has the space, I have my studio at the Laurelwood store. So you can literally bring in an outfit and we can go back in my studio and I can design jewelry just for you. Just one of a kind pieces just for you. So I didn't want to forget to let you know that as well.
Oh, thank you for sharing that. Okay, Miss Cynthia.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So honestly, just like Cheryl said, I definitely wanted to create something during the holiday season. So I launched Black Friday Business Virtual Experience and also Black Christmas Expo. That's typically something I do at Tiger Lane, and decided to do that virtually. And actually MLGW Supply Diversity was a big part of that. You guys
and it was a success too. We greatly appreciated partnering with you on that.
Wonderful, wonderful. And so then coming into 2021, again, I wanted to figure out how do we make sure we help those Black restaurants with Memphis Black Restaurant Week. So that will take place March 7th through the 13th. Right now, I'm still recruiting some restaurants, but Four Way is on board. Chef Tam is on board. A lot of people are very excited. Some restaurants in the Orange Mound community, just so we can make sure we're supporting and helping them sustain. I am really hoping by summer, fall, I'm able to do some social distancing events, you know, in person, but I'm really just trying to wait, Gail, until, you know, we have new leadership in place, how the world opens up. But I can definitely say Memphis Black Restaurant Week, March 7th through 13th, people can support from the comfort and safety from their home. I'm excited about that.
Well, you mentioned Chef Tan, and there was an article in a local publication recently about her, and the title sort of was something like, I'm not giving up because of this pandemic. She said she wasn't giving up. And actually, I was glad to see the article because I immediately went to her restaurant. And oh my God, her food is just, oh my God, that's all I can say. Her food is so good.
It takes you
I've
out.
been several times. I ordered her food yesterday on DoorDash. And I mean, her food is just good. But like I said, I'm trying to spend my little 50 cents everywhere. I'm trying to get somebody 10 cents here, 10 cents there. I'm just trying to help everybody.
And it makes a difference. It really, even if you intentionally support Black and shop Black once a week, you're helping somebody sustain through a pandemic. It's powerful, Gail.
Yeah, and so, and I believe in supporting my Black business, but I also support other businesses as well, because I'm gonna tell you, I love Rizzo's. I mean, Chef Michael, his food is, I just love good food. I'm just gonna tell you. So I'm always trying, I need to exercise a whole lot more, but I'm on top of my food now, so I can't be gaining weight during this pandemic. But I try as much as I can, and I try to encourage others, even if you don't want to go to a restaurant, just order something to go. We need to help these restaurants. We need to help the economy. If those restaurants hire people, they need jobs. And when people are out of work, it just has a bad impact economically on the total community. Community.
And I'll say one thing, Gail, if I may, sometimes even when it's not about me eating out, I'll order something from some of my neighbors that I know have been laid off. And so I'll have the food delivered and I'll walk it around the corner. So even if you don't want the food, think about somebody else in need. A simple meal can go a long way to somebody that's not working.
Exactly.
And advice to businesses too. You know, I have this tribe of friends. Gail, you have one of my tribe necklaces.
Yeah, I do, and I love it. Thanks to Deidre Malone who bought it for me.
Thank you, Deidre. So I have a tribe of friends, and I tell everyone to get your tribe, to identify your tribe of friends. And it's not always your circle, you know, it's not always your circle of friends. It's those who stand with you in the dark corners, if you will. That's your tribe. And, you know, at any time I can reach out to my friends and say, wow, it's been a slow week, you know, really slow week here. And amazingly, tribe friends will come in and shop with me for birthday presents and gifts or, whatever, just to sustain the business. That is so important to have that support system. So I'm not afraid, that the business will fail because I do have that support. So I would tell everyone, get your tribe, identify your tribe, support them, and they'll support you.
Well, one of the things that you both have that I think helps make you sustainable and successful is that you got the guts, you got the nerves, you got the confidence to keep it moving. You just did not give up. You just did not give up and say, I just, this pandemic has got me. So I greatly appreciate the example that you all are giving for other businesses and the role models that you are creating for small business people, for women and people of color. I greatly appreciate that. And I greatly appreciate the giving back that you do. And the information that you all have provided today, I'm hoping, and I'm really hoping that it will lift some people up. It will motivate some people. And if somebody's down, they can say, let me get up. Let me get up. I can do this. I just got to figure out how to do this. And just make it. Just pray and just make it. But the examples that you all have given have been exceptional. Greatly, these are two positive examples that I'm hoping that will be beneficial to many, many people who are watching this show. So we only have a few minutes left. And so could you both give some closing remarks or tips to our viewers?
I'll jump in. Cheryl,
Yeah.
you're in the public, so I know you have a wealth of knowledge to share.
No.
But for guys, I just want you to know, even if you're not able to, operate in your business as you typically would. Again, I'm an event planner. I like large scale events with hundreds of people. Don't be afraid to pivot. Don't be afraid to find out what other skill set can you add to your resume? What else can you do in the meantime? I'm a big component of YouTube University.
Yes.
Even if you're not going to start a business, learn a new language, learn something to help when you get back into the career space. Just figure out, how do you make yourself better during this pandemic? So don't get discouraged. I know it can get hard. Figure out, what can I do to better myself now that I have this downtime?
Yeah.
Thank you, Cynthia. Thank you for that, Cheryl.
And for me, again, I say, follow me on Instagram, Cheryl.Pesce. Every day, I'm going to give you tips and inspiration for how to make it, not only just during this pandemic, but in business in general. It's what I have to do. Right now, I say to you, use social media. Today I'm doing the webinar. Yesterday I did an interview with Channel 13. Tomorrow I'm doing a Facebook Live. And then Friday I've got something I'm doing on Clubhouse. So I'm covering all the social media. Be relevant, stay relevant, ubiquitous, seemingly everywhere. I live downtown. I have a store in Midtown. I have a store in East Memphis. I'm on all the social media. So just be out there so people can't say that they've forgotten you or whatever happened to you. Be the boss. Know your systems, know your vendors, know your brand, know more about your business than anyone who works with you or for you, because then you can't be held captive. If you have to lay off or let people go, then you know everything about your business. And how do you pivot? Stay low, stay agile, stay light on your feet so that you can move up and down, back and forward. I talk to Elliot Perry about this all the time. He's the pivoter, the playmaker, the point guard. And that's what you do. Stay low, stay light, move back and forward, move side to side. Be the brand, wear it, talk it, live it. Don't get tired. Don't get tired. This is just sometimes when we get to the point when things are about to change is when people give out and quit. This is not the time to quit. Exactly. This is the time to keep going. We've almost made it through this. Give it a couple more months and we're going to see the sunshine. Just as the sun is shining through the window here in my home, as I said that, we're so close. Stay the course. Stay the course.
I want to thank both of you for sharing your experiences today. And I want to thank our viewers for taking time to tune in. And I'm hoping today's show provided a lot of beneficial information for our viewers. And I want to thank staff for working with us on this show because we couldn't do these shows and be as successful as they've been without our staff. Our next Power Pivot show will be February 18th at 4 p.m. And at that time, we will continue discussing ways to help small businesses during this pandemic time. Thank you so very much for watching. See you next month.
Thank you, Gail. Bye-bye.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.